we're giving a summary of the 14 rules. The fifth rule is we should never make changes in our spiritual practices when we're in the state of desolation, but to be firm and constant and pray and be faithful as we were when we were in the state of consolation the prior day. Rule 6 is what is called the rule of agite contra. We should go intensely against the desolation and apply ourselves to 3 practices: meditation, prayer, and penance. And then rule 7 is the rule of what is called sufficient grace. That God will always give us sufficient grace to get through the desolation if we are faithful to Him. Rule 8 is the rule of patience. By our patience we will save our souls. Rule 9, we explain, was a rule in which St. Ignatius explains why we have desolation. The first cause is our own negligence, our laziness. The second is so that we don't give in to what is called spiritual gluttony. Seek the God of consolations, not the consolations of God. And the third is that we recognize that consolation is not of our doing. It comes when God allows it, in the way God allows it, in the length that God allows it. And also so that we do not place our hopes and our desires in this passing transitory life that we live. Then Rule 10 and Rule 11 refer to what we do in consolation. Rule 10 is, in times of consolation, prepare yourself for desolation. Good soldiers in time of war are preparing, time and peace are preparing for war. And Rule 11 is, we should humble ourselves before God and recognize how little we are, how little we can do when we're in the state of desolation. And then Rule 12, 13, and 14 are rules in which St. Ignatius explains explicitly the way in which the devil tempts us. Rule 12, the devil is strong with the weak and weak with the strong, like a street woman. So we have to resist the temptation of the devil from the very onset. Rule 13 is the devil wants us to keep in secrecy our state of desolation, not to open up. And by doing that, the molehill is turned into the mountain. The little cut becomes infected. He turns something relatively small into a mountain. And finally, the 14th rule is a rule which we call the kryptonite rule, in which St. Ignatius insists that we must know ourselves. We all have a fatal flaw. We all have our kryptonite. We all have our weakness. We all have our weak moments. We are all vulnerable. And if we do not really know ourselves, then indeed we are a prime target for the attacks of the enemy. This self-knowledge can become a part of us by reflecting on the capital sins. After making our general confession, we're keenly aware that we have the 7 capital sins within us. However, one of these capital sins is much more dominant. So my friends, these rules for discernment are part and parcel of the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius Loyola and are really indispensable for us to progress in holiness.